Hey everyone, I just wanted to make this testimonial for Alex. He's really helped me a ton in this past few months, man. I can't thank him enough. I started working with Alex probably late 2019, I believe. At that point, I was approaching my 40s. I had two young kids. And I wanted to be as healthy as possible going forward, while I can still continuing my strength and, physique goals. Still progressing, and that couldn't have gone better. I've been the healthiest I've ever been up until this point. Probably April, it was low body fat, the strongest I've ever been, lowest weight. It was pretty amazing. Actually, my doctors attribute that to how I came through this, everything that I went through. It was looking pretty bad at some points. So I'll start at the beginning of how this all started, my health issues. Try to keep it kind of brief as well. It's kind of a long and in-depth story, really. But I went to Portugal. It was a golf trip. It was pretty amazing. One of the best trips I've ever been on. I got back on a Saturday night with that. Sunday was fine. Monday I was really tired. I kind of just attributed that to, jet lag or, traveling. Monday night I started getting sick. It was like 3 days of every 20 minutes get hit into the bathroom, throwing, going to the bathroom. Literally did not miss a 20-minute. It was like on the dot. You could set a clock to it. That happened for 3 days. Went to the doctors for that. Got put on a Z-Pack, for traveler's sickness. So I took that Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Saturday, woke up, mowed the lawn, didn't have any issues. Probably a little bit tired still at that point. Sunday, woke up, I had a stiff neck. Didn't really think too much about it. Wasn't too bad, it was just kind of stiff. Monday, I woke up, I couldn't turn my neck to the left. And my elbow was stiff, but I didn't really think they were connected at that point. Went to the chiropractor, tried to get an adjustment. He told me he couldn't even touch it. I was so inflamed. He asked if I slept the window open. I hadn't changed anything. Later on that day, my ankle started being really stiff as well. I still didn't really think anything about it. Tuesday, woke up, couldn't really put any pressure on my either ankle at that point. By Thursday, I could barely walk. Went back to my primary. He got me on antibiotics. Did some blood tests for tick diseases. So that was a Thursday. Friday, woke up, couldn't not even get out of bed, couldn't walk. Went to the hospital. I'm from Boston. We went to one of the biggest hospitals in the city. Supposed to be one of the world-renowned hospital. Instantly, when I got into the hospital, they started asking me about arthritis. Because this runs in my family. I'm like, 4 days ago, I was fine. I had no symptoms ever. Now I can't walk. How are you asking me if this is arthritis? They never got off of that. They gave me 2 cortisone shots in my ankles after staying there for 2 days and sent me on my way. I got out on Sunday. By Monday night, the pain moved from my ankles up to my knees. I knew something else was going on. It took about 2 weeks for any blood work to come back. I really had no answers. Gone to a couple other doctors. Still, all of them just did blood work. Took about 2 answers. At that point, I tested positive for Bartonella, which is a tick disease. Then I had to do a lot of more in-depth testing. Everything started getting worse in a hurry. I went from, working 12 hours a day, every day, to not being able to concentrate for more than 20 minutes. Sometimes I read one email and my body would start shaking and feel like I would pass out. I'd hit the couch. I'd pass out for an hour, 2 hours, sometimes 3 hours. I'd wake up. I wouldn't know where I was. I wouldn't know what day it was. I'd have to figure everything out. I was like, went to more doctors. They went back to arthritis. I'm like, they just kept disregarding the head issues and fatigue and everything. Could not get any answers. I went to a tick specialist. They started getting me on some, supplements and stuff like that. And everything that they gave me, antibiotics didn't work. All the supplements, if anything, they made me feel worse. So at that point I was like, I couldn't walk, I couldn't think. So I asked Alex for his opinion on this. He instantly got me on the nasal spray of the BPC 157 and the TB 500, as well as glutathione. Instantly the pain stopped. Didn't stop, not even close to stopped. The pain subsided enough that I could be mobile. Brain fog still persisted, probably for another 2 weeks. At that time, Alex recommended adding in KPV peptide. Probably within 3 days, the brain fog lifted. Literally everything the doctors gave me that didn't work or made me feel worse. Alex gave me 3 options. I tried all of them. Every single one, every single big jump I've made in this whole process has been made by Alex. I understand doctors are, they're overwhelmed. They get the standard of practice, but I couldn't even get answers out of them. They wouldn't even, the hospitals. I went to two hospitals. The two hospitals wouldn't even entertain a tick disease. They wouldn't even talk about it. You know, Finally, I got a specialist for an ISD specialist, infectious disease specialist, excuse me, and the tick doctor that I had. Both of them also found that I had untreated strep throat, which my daughter had strep throat about 2 weeks before I went away, and I had mono as well. So I had 6 different tick diseases. One of them is a disease called Powassan virus. That explains why the antibiotics wasn't work, because there was 5 tick diseases that were bacterial, which would help. The 6th was a virus, and that explains why that didn't help. Plus, they also found the untreated strep throat and mono. So, out of 6 doctors, 2 of them found the strep throat and mono, and 1 of them found all the tick diseases. None of the protocols that they have put me on has helped. At least me feel better. I would assume that they're doing something underneath, to get rid of the viruses. But the 3 peptides and Alex's advice, are what kept me sane. This happened in late April, early May. Up until about 3 weeks ago, I was still having a lot of trouble walking. I had to go to physical therapy. They were teaching me how to walk again. My feet were just not activated. I was totally immobile for like 6 weeks. And without Alex's help, I really don't know where I would be. I think I'd still be treading water, just trying to find out what I could do to help. This has got me back to work. I'm not back at the gym, but I started doing yoga again. I actually made it to golf. I played 9 holes. So I'm the type of person that has to be moving, and just sitting there stagnant was not doing anything for me mentally. Definitely wasn't doing for me anything physically. I still have a long road to go, but I give all the credit in the world for Alex. He's truly an amazing person. He's out there to help, and I recommend anyone with any issues, at least run it by him. Like I said, doctors are overwhelmed. They have their standard of care. They really just don't want to deviate from what they know. And some of these things, they're tricky to find out, and you have to work with it. And thanks to Alex, I'm on the med. Hoping to be back actually lifting in maybe a month, maybe 2. But I got a long road to go. So I want to thank Alex and recommend him to everyone.